Alrighty, we guys. 9/11. 9/11. 24 years ago. 24 years ago. We're going to have some fun during this stream, okay? We're going to be reacting to some memes for sure. That's going to happen. Going to get into, going to revisit certain moments. Iconic moments. Highlights. Yeah, so like the attitude during the stream is going to be kind of mostly jovial. I think that's what I'm looking for. Even though I know thousands of lives were lost in the attack. That should not have happened. But it did happen. And when I look at this day, I am also reminded of the bullshit wars that followed. Now, I love America. I'm an American. But that whole like freedom isn't free. It costs folks like you and me. Whether thousands of lives are lost, and I don't feel any freer. I don't feel any freer. Chat, do you feel freer? Do you feel free? Got NSA, got the Patriot Act, you got the government more in your business, screening everybody who boards a plane when the people who did it were clearly radical Muslims. Like it's kind of, I think you can profile that. I think you could figure, but we're going to punish everyone. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So, yeah, 24 years ago, 18-year-old Mr. Deadman, teen Deadman, had a different outlook. By the way, this image might be related to that. Actually, this image here is more like maybe, I want to say 16-year-old Deadman. Either 15, 16, okay, freshman year of high school. All right. So well, I can't do math. That would be 14 years. That would be 14 years there. Okay. Wow. Too long to compute. Too soon? I don't know, right? we got to wait more years. No. Or like too late. It reached a point to where anymore you have memes of this. It happened so long ago. You got to think, man, there's generations that like have no idea what really like they didn't live through it. They don't. I know no WMDs. Remember that? We're in that BS war. Remember that? Oh, we got to look for weapons of mass destruction. Turn out there weren't any. We got to take out Saddam Hussein. He's a bad guy. I think he was more of a bad guy to Israel for sure. I mean, how much of a threat did he really pose to us? It's not like he's going to launch a missile at us or anything, you know. But he used to lob them at Israel though. So we're gonna have fun. We're gonna go through some memes here. We're gonna revisit some moments. Okay. We're also gonna explore the questions about the Saudi involvement. Israel's not gonna be spared. Okay. Not anti-Semitic here. I love the small tribe. Gotta say that. Gotta say that every time on the stream. Every time I bring them up, just to make sure it's not twisted. But and there's some questions about why were there Israeli intelligence, Israeli spies in the area? What were they doing there? Were they just cruising around, gathering intel for no particular purpose? That seems weird. And we got videos, we got little news clips, everything. Either Ralph is in the house. This actually seems more like a kill stream topic than anything else. But I think everyone right now is still talking about the Charlie Kirk thing, which I understand. But I didn't want to be one of many talking about that. So I was like, I'm going to stay the course. We're going to do 9/11 fun stream. Okay, that's what we're going to do. I'll say lastly, for anyone who is listening and you lost someone or knows someone who lost someone in that tragic event, it should not have happened. I understand it sucks. It's horrible. It's saying it sucks does not really do it right. It's horrible. But here we go. ZXV, I wouldn't really call it an OPC network. You guys hear things and you run with it like crazy. Like crazy. Yes, that's right. OPC Don is the mastermind behind everything. Which is why he really wants me to examine why Israel was involved, or if Israel was involved in 9/11, which I think you have some interesting things. That's right, a 2-decade-old topic. That's right. All right. Anyways, ZXV, I gave you enough attention. I'm sure you'll find some nice things to clip out here tonight. We'll see. We'll see what kind of night this is. I don't drink anymore on stream, but of course, I can be persuaded. I should not say that. Okay, let's go to get started. So I actually got some memes in the Discord that were pretty cool. I think we're going to start off with that here. Let me go ahead and put these on the screen here. First off, I'm going to put it in order here. This comes from Damascus Mincemeyer, who I know that guy. The guy used to do the artwork for the Dead Man's Tome publication back when I used to do that. We get it, bro. You vape? Yeah. Oh, and by the way, feel free to rate these memes. Yay or nay. And be honest here. Okay? Like this one's kind of mid. This one's mid, but I get it. It's okay. It's all right. Is it getting airplanes or is it getting tomatoes? Like, what is it getting? Let's see. Yeah, that one's pretty tame. Now this one's good. This one's really good. But hold on here. Copyright issues. Let's turn this down. Okay? Alrighty. Laura's escaping the towers. Well, you're not going to hear it. I mean, we all know what song that is. And it will get claimed by Metallica. Okay? Oh, that's messed up. Oh my God, that's so messed up. Okay. All right. That one I think is a winner. That one I think is definitely a winner so far. You guys definitely let me know in the chat. This one is interesting. Okay. That sucked, but it's time to play. Dude, this one, it's not as good as the Metallica one, but it speaks to me in a different way. I don't know where you guys were during 9/11, and that's a question I'm asking you guys in the chat. Where were you guys when 9/11 happened? Do you remember? I know exactly where I was. I was in school, senior year. I was in business class, business etiquette. And it was a little class on eating etiquette, like dining, whatever. It's some BS crap. The whole business course was BS anyway. You only took that class so you could get excuse to leave school to go to work, but then you didn't really go to work. You kind of blew that off, and you just played games instead. Anyway, I was in that class, and I was playing Game Boy Advance. And the game I was playing was Advance Wars 2. Now, you probably never heard of that game. That's fine. The only thing you need to know about that game is you command little armies or whatever. And one of your units is a bomber, okay? I swear to God, I was playing with my friend with this game. And I move, like we're going at each other, and I move, like, my little bomber unit to the city to, like, bomb his city or whatever. And around that time, that's when, like, some lady ran into the classroom and was like, turn on the news. They hit the towers. It's like, what? And of course, I'm sitting there with a Game Boy Advance in my hand like, what are they talking about? They flew planes into towers? What? That's insane. But anyway. Okay. So that one there just kind of like made me a little nostalgic. I like that. That's nice. This one here, really cool. Those who are like familiar with the sector know what this is. Okay. I like the layers. I like the layers to this. Let's see. Mackenzie says, I was my morning ballet class, my first semester of college. Oh, you took ballet in college. Okay. Mackenzie says, yeah, OPC Don thinks I'm going to ride the motorcycle to visit him. I mean, I would legit ride the motorcycle to Rhode Island. You know, I would do that. Be quite a long trip there. You know? But would do that. So did Cog know? Did Cog know all along? Anyway. Let me check the Discord, see what else we have before we get into the rest of this here. Oh, this one. Okay. Now, I don't know the full context of this picture here, but it looks like Alfalfa predicted 9/11. Is that what I'm looking at here? Alfalfa predicted 9/11. Man, crazy. I think the best one that was in the Discord was definitely the Metallica one there, for sure. Absolutely. We could do a few other memes here. Sure. We'll just play through them.
Coming to stores soon. The 9/11 playset. Lure the mastermind your very own mission of terror. Enjoy it again and again. Yours always soon. The 9/11 playset, just $29.99. It's too big to miss. Coming to stores soon. The
Dust pussy, he think he the batter. We call him Elon.
Oh,
Dust.
Why do people on the internet make memes about 9/11? One of the darkest days in U.S. history.
All right. I think we're good. Oh, wait.
Undeal Dingle here. My cousin Henry Bartholomew Dingle Nut got arrested for putting a TNT in a daycare center.
Okay. All right, if you guys have any good videos or memes that you guys want to, who is Alfalfa? Well, you haven't seen Little Rascals? You haven't seen Little Rascals? Why haven't... What? That's like a classic right there. All right. We're going to watch this right here.
Another building flew right into the middle.
We don't need to watch all this part here. Just remember. We got to remember. Okay.
What the hell was that?
It sounded like a plane crash.
Hey, Beth. What is that? Somebody hit the World Trade Center or the...
It's a trade
Yes, the
center.
World Trade Center.
Number 2.
Yeah. This just in, you were
Matt just
looking
mentioned
at
we have a breaking
obviously
news
very
story to tell you
disturbing
about.
live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have
I mean, that's how it was, man. When I was in school when this happened, it was like every station was talking about this. Of course,
As we come on now, we have serious news of a major
it was an event that changed well, everything for the U.S. Honestly, the world too. I mean, okay, but we got to revisit here.
Yes,
Is this
yes.
moment
Boys
right
and girls,
here?
sound this word out. Get ready. Steel. What word? Steel. Yes, steel. Read these words the fast way. Get ready. Plane. Yes, plane. Get ready. Must. Yes, must. Let's read these words the fast way without making a mistake. Get ready. Kite. Yes, kite. Get ready. Kick. Yes, kicks. And 60 on page 153.
Happy Twin Day Dead Gold.
Thank you, Alfie. I remember seeing this in class, like live, but I could have sworn it was from like a different angle too.
At the count of 3, try it again. Get ready from the beginning of that.
Yeah. Okay, that's the look. I was the.
Get ready.
He's not even reading that book. He's like, what? And people say Bush did 9/11. Like, where were you at with that? We're 24 years old now on that. Are you guys like I think Bush was an idiot. Oh yeah, there's definitely a puppet master behind 9/11. But Bush wasn't the puppet master. Hurricane Pyro sent this one. We got to check this.
An analogy of the Twin Towers, and if you could...
All right. This video was sent by Hurricane Pyro. Shout out to Hurricane Pyro. The video is titled, I investigate if George Bush did 9/11. Okay.
9/11 is the biggest lie of our lifetime.
Did George Bush do 9/11?
I don't know. What? I don't know about that one.
Actually, I don't know. Is that the president?
I don't think so. That's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous?
It is.
Why is it?
I mean, Gibbs is talking about kites.
It's possible George Bush did 9/11?
I mean, if you talk about kites, it's understandable.
I'm no
Heights.
conspiracy theorist, but hear me out. George Bush, 9/11. On the day before 9/11, the Secretary of Defense, David Rumsfeld, reported that the Pentagon somehow lost $2.3 trillion. How did they make the public forget about this missing money? See this plane?
But the Pentagon always loses money. The Pentagon loses money all the time. What?
9/11. But who am I kidding? The government can print money.
And no
Who
one
cares?
cares about that,
in
right?
addition to the
We can do about
2.3
it.
trillion missing dollars, many believe that the Twin Towers and Building 7 were the
Okay,
result
yeah,
of
that one's
controlled
weird.
demolition, not the impact of a plane. Let's
Didn't-
say George Bush was evil
Did
enough
not
to
get
pull
hit by
this
a
all off.
plane.
Why? Many believe that Building 7
just
was a
collapsed.
secret
Okay.
headquarters for the entire plan related to 9/11. Seem a bit far-fetched? Maybe. I know nothing, but what if I talked to a first responder on 9/11 who was the New York Fire Commissioner? Let me introduce Chris Joya. Chris, who are you?
I'm an ex-chief in the Franklin Square and Munson Fire Department.
For a variety of reasons you're about to explain, you believe it may have been a false flag?
Yes,
I'm
that's
turning up the
correct.
volume.
Okay, and what is a false flag?
False flag operation is an operation that is conducted by a government and to make it seem that some group or entities committed some acts which require the government to attack a country.
And let me ask you guys, why would anyone do that? Are there countries that would want the U.S. to go to the Middle East to level some people? To topple some governments? One in particular? This one was sent in by Alfie 123. All right, let's play it. Okay. There's no more towers. Watch that song get us dinged. I'm gonna have to like crop that one out. All right, this one here. The thing is, intelligence was warning them for months. That's right. That is true. And that's something that's very interesting about this is that there were, I believe even the FBI was tracking these people. Like they knew that something was going to happen, but not everyone, of course, knew. Right? I mean, there's people who know and people who don't know. A government of kites. Well, why would they want us to destroy Iraq? Oh, maybe because they were a threat to them? And it's not like Saudi had a good relations with Iraq either. But we're going to get more into that.
Thomas Hetzel was a member of this department.
Right there.
Yes, and he was killed in the towers. We lost a lot of friends.
Yeah. You were on site that day.
I was working across the river doing my construction job, and then the fire department got called to duty to assist. Within a couple of days, we wound up down at Ground Zero. That's me.
Wow.
Almost 20 years ago.
That's odd.
This is what I saw, and then there's this South Tower coming
So wait,
down.
he was called to duty to assist, and then okay, kind of odd there.
How did you come?
Yeah, as we watch this, definitely point out anything that sounds a bit odd or suspicious. You know,
the conclusion that 9/11 was a false flag.
For the first 10 years, I did not think anything other than the official narrative. Then, after being shown a close-up video of building number 7 coming down, and that got me going, because it's obvious to me that building 7 was a controlled demolition, because the building collapses from the bottom down.
Can you basically break down your experience in firefighting and
Doesn't lean
construction
over
for us?
Okay, I've been involved with heavy construction for over 30 years. Been involved with the constructions of high-rise steel frame buildings in Manhattan. I've worked on bridges, and I know what goes into these buildings. I know what fire loads that they can handle, how fire is going to act. The trade centers were unique in that they were designed to withstand the impact of a jet. From what I understand, the outer skeleton of the building, the outer columns was like a fishnet, and you had these inner core columns which were substantial, thick steel beams to withstand 4 or 5 times what the loads were. The engineers always over-design a building. No steel frame building has ever collapsed before or since 9/11. So that should say something right there. And it said that building 7, it was a progressive collapse, that it was caused by fire. But progressive collapse, unlike the Twin Towers collapse from the top down. That's a progressive collapse.
Sure.
Floor by floor by floor. But if you look at the videos of building 7 collapsing, it collapses uniformly. It's collapsing from the bottom. The building stays intact.
It is kind of like in that video right there. It does, or that clip, it looks like it kind of sags, but like kind of like in the middle of it.
Collapses uniformly. It's collapsing from the bottom. The building stays intact all the way to the bottom of the ground, and you could see the sides caving in on it. For a building to collapse uniformly, which the videos show, all the load-bearing columns would have had to have failed simultaneously. Now, fire doesn't act like that. I came across an analogy.
McKinsey, yeah, that's what he said. He said that about the 2 towers there. For 7, okay, you're thinking for 7 itself, like the jet fuel melted the steel beams, but a building 7 wasn't even hit by a plane.
Of the Twin Towers, and if you could visualize cast iron stoves stacked, one on top of each other. The stoves up at the top, yes, there's fire and they've been damaged, but the stoves on the bottom, they haven't been damaged.
Okay.
So the structure underneath all of that is intact. So it's impossible.
Oh, that's yeah. Yeah, they don't. Well, yeah, they definitely don't design it to withstand a jet, and it didn't. The jet went right through it like a hot knife to butter, man. East Coast Podcast. The Wizard thinks he's best friends with Deadman. We're not besties. We're not besties. I would say it's all I wanted to do was create respectful time slots. That's all I did.
For a building to collapse near free fall speed and increase
without a controlled demolition.
You're running into the path of most resistance.
I
So
see.
something else is going on. I don't believe that it was just the planes or the fires. I think that, and they examined the dust and they found what they call thermitic material, which is like an explosive incendiary, which was in the dust samples, and that's documented. There were reports of the buildings were undergoing an extensive elevator renovation in the 2 or 3 years prior to. All kinds of workers, they had access to the cores of the building. And on the day of the attack, the elevator company would not assist in the operations of the elevators. And the elevator company was the elevator company. It's
This guy's saying a lot of stuff here. I know the theory about the explosions.
subsequently went out of business. And a couple of years after that, the information is out there. At one time when I was heavily engaged in trying to get a new investigation, I definitely felt threatened. I felt threatened from my family, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. You have sworn testimonies from firefighters regarding.
Now I'm gonna let this video play out because I want to see if this guy makes the case that Bush did it. Even though I think we all agree that he was too dumb to even do this. I mean, come on now.
Explosions in the building, they were suppressed. Just somebody making a statement, especially from firemen and police, if they make a statement, I heard an explosion, that's grounds to initiate an investigation. The firefighters, a bomb went off. This is their own words, made that day. They just ignored it. Just like Building 7 was ignored in the 9/11 Commission report. It's not in there, like it never happened.
You think the firemen knew something was up?
New York City Fire Department.
There's an old clip as well of like someone said pull it, right? And then that's when Building 7 comes down. Dude, it's been so long ago, right? But I vaguely remember that. Now after this clip, we're gonna get into the Saudi stuff, and then of course the Mossad stuff as well.
Knows exactly what happened, and they've been told, not to comment on it. They know. These are my brothers.
It's your family.
These are the guys I went to fight fires
Yep.
with. These are the guys I grew up with. They don't see how.
Oh yeah, McKinsey. Yeah, like you're not gonna design a building to withstand a plane. That's just not gonna work. I don't know what the guy was saying there, but he did say that the for the ones for the towers that were hit, the obviously the fires did kind of weaken it, and it kind of messed it up there. The way they collapsed, you can kind of see there was like some weakness there, and that kind of made sense. But you compare that to like Building 7, the way it collapsed is just just straight down practically.
When you lose my friend Mike Kiefer, he was the only son. He was going to get married. He had a whole life ahead of him. His parents were devastated. So you have all this, collateral damage on top of that people don't see that. And it just infuriates me that something like this could take place. These people that did it don't even care about that, You killed some of the best people in this country. You murdered them.
They were collateral damage.
Yes,
to the
the dancing.
plot to have an excuse to start a war? What do you think Al Qaeda's role in all this was?
I think Al Qaeda is made up. The FBI came out, I believe it was 2006, and actually said, this is verifiable, they had no concrete evidence linking Osama bin Laden with 9/11. Osama bin Laden worked for the Central Intelligence Agency in Afghanistan.
Well, that's kind of known. It should be known. I think everyone knows that, right? I mean, this is kind of a refresher course. It's like, yeah, we know this, yeah. But that's the point of this. Like, but it also is kind of like, why did we act differently? Oh, that's right. Because we were lied to. Because that moment was used to bring us into bullshit wars that cost thousands of lives. Okay. I mean, I'm just talking about the U.S. forces. I mean, if you talk about like civilians and all that, and for what gain? For what purpose? To install a democracy that like collapsed the moment we pulled out? Okay. I mean, okay.
He helped us fight the Russians when they were.
How's
in
Iraq doing now?
He was a CIA operative. CIA helped orchestrate.
Does anyone know?
It was their plan. George Bush's father was having lunch with Osama bin Laden's brother or cousin that day or the day before 9/11. So there's some business dealings going on that they don't even talk about. Another fact that can be verified. After 9/11, they shut down air traffic for a few days. No planes were allowed to fly. The only plane that was allowed to fly was bin Laden's family. They put them on government jets.
That's right,
and
yeah.
flew them out of the country. They let them go. They set up bin Laden to take the fall for this.
Why would the government want 9/11 to happen?
Well, first thing,
he was the guy to get. They needed a fall guy. Iraq is worse than Detroit right now. And you know what? I haven't even heard a word about Iraq for a while now. You know? And the fact that you said Iraq is worse than Detroit? Dude. That's scary, man.
and foremost, we were going to exert our influence over the whole world.
American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
Iraq and Libya,
we got to fight for freedom, guys.
They're sitting on
fight
oil
for freedom.
reserves. So we went into Iraq. We took their resources. There's tremendous.
During this time, young adult Mr. Deadman, 20-year-old Mr. Deadman, was pretty much a liberal. Was pretty much a leftist. Okay. Things changed later on. But yeah, maybe I revealed too much there.
Money at stake here. This is all about the money.
So what role do you think George Bush had to do with this event, if at all?
I think George Bush went along for the ride. I think the real perpetrator,
yes,
the real culprit behind it is the former Vice President, Dick Cheney.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Dick freaking Cheney, man. Dick freaking Cheney. I hate Bush and Obama. Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't vote then, but I remember really hating Bush and really being against the war and all that, and finding like the people who are roped into it. Like, I understand why people are angry, but it's like, even then I was like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, like when we were in Iraq, it's like, why are we in Iraq again? What's going on? Weapon of mass destruction? It's like, what? What weapons? They're not going to find anything. They didn't find anything. But yeah, of course, you got to think like 2001 to like 2006 liberal was like different than it is today. I mean, even the Democrats back then were all about like protecting the borders and stuff like that. You know, it was kind of more reasonable. Now it's like, you know, let's transition every kid or allow it to happen. It's just gone bonkers. You know, what is a woman? We can't even tell. You know, it's just gone insane. People have lost their freaking minds. anymore, I kind of feel like I don't really have like a party that I like align with necessarily. You know? Anyway.
Cheney,
Anyway, let me ask you guys this. Is after all these years, have you come to the conclusion that Dick Cheney was indeed the puppet master behind everything? Do you think Dick Cheney was the one who orchestrated all of this? He definitely profited.
I would call Darth Vader. Dick Cheney was in charge of everything. He took control of the military prior to and on that day, and he choreographed. The Pentagon, just so you viewers know, is the most heavily defended building in the world. The pilot who allegedly was piloting the plane that crashed into the Pentagon, his name was Hani Hanjour, and he, according to the 9/11 Commission, was the worst pilot out of the bunch. Now, they supposedly were training on Cessnas, so he went to this flight school, and he was such a poor pilot that the instructors wouldn't even certify him on flying a single-engine propeller plane. Yet, he is supposed to...
Well, you don't have to be a good pilot to... correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. I've never flown a plane before, but like I don't think you have to be a good pilot to crash it into a building.
Taken this commercial jetliner and done some aerobatic maneuvers to bring it in almost ground level and go into the side of the Pentagon. So at the time it had an active surface-to-air missile defense, so they could shoot down incoming planes. There are more security cameras around the Pentagon, even back then. The FBI confiscated between 80 to 90 videos they have of what hit the Pentagon. They won't release it. Like I said, the more you...
they won't release it, which is interesting because some people... I remember the theory that it actually wasn't a plane that hit the Pentagon. It was a missile. I remember that theory.
Investigate, the more you don't want to look at it. 9/11 is the biggest lie of our lifetimes.
A lot of questions we need answers. How is this possible? And what footage of this remains? Probably a lot, right? They probably got cameras everywhere. This video is all that's really out there.
Wait, you don't see anything in that video. I remember that video.
Video is all that's really out there.
You don't see anything. You see nothing, and all of a sudden, boom. If you slow that down, it's like, what am I looking at here? See, like you see nothing, and all of a sudden, boom. That's odd. And that's why people have questions about that one. It's odd that he couldn't get another angle. There are frames missing? Yeah, it was like there was nothing there. Yeah, there are frames clearly missing. And it's like, why is that? And it's kind of like Jeffrey Epstein in a way, because you get this one angle when they have other cameras around, and that's the best one they could get. Oh, because we're talking about 9/11. And maybe other people were talking about Charlie Kirk. I have no idea, dude. I have no idea. But I enjoy you guys here.
Hell no, man. What the f***, man?
It's just this. But why? Do they not have cameras on the Pentagon? Let's go find out. Keep in mind that the Pentagon is one of the most heavily guarded buildings in the United States, if not the most. You're now entering the Pentagon reservation. Let's go. So, looks like we made it to the Pentagon. Take a look. This is where Flight 77 hit the Pentagon wall. Let's go. Do you guys know which side the plane hit, actually?
Yeah, this is the side the plane hit on. You can see already from here where it's lighter colored in the center.
Okay.
That's the section they repaired.
Oh, is there like security cameras all over the wall right there?
There are, and that's what you're seeing up there at the top.
Got it.
And you actually, if they catch you taking a picture, they will come out and confiscate.
Oh, really?
You cannot take pictures of the Pentagon. You can take pictures of.
Are we going to take video?
not of the Pentagon.
He's going to lose your phone because if he doesn't put it down.
Oh, I see. So, yeah, is the videography different?
It's a camera. You're
I
going to
see.
take a picture of the Pentagon if you take a picture of that.
I see. So people don't take photos in front of the Pentagon?
You can go over to the memorial.
Got it. Well, I appreciate you looking out. Yeah, we'll go over there then.
I'm just telling you.
I talked to the lady. She basically said there's security cameras everywhere. Even if you look at those poles right there,
Yeah,
you'll start to
that we
notice
know.
that those are pointing towards the walls. There's cameras over there, cameras over there, cameras over there, cameras over there, cameras everywhere. Point being,
Yeah, so like you should be able to get a better angle than that.
It makes sense that it
obviously.
would be captured on video. And how is the pilot able to perform that maneuver? Also doesn't make a ton of sense unless it was pure fluke accident. And secondly, how in the hell does a passenger plane get even this close to this building? The security on here must be insanity. How is that possible? So just consider how low the plane had to fly and what maneuver it had to perform.
Yeah, and I did the fire chief didn't have to tell us this, but I'm very positive that there's like surface to air missiles there.
To hit the plane wall. There are a few frames.
So
in a sort
they
of
allowed it
still
to get
framing
hit.
Video right here, but not a single.
And probably by a missile.
Video showing this full event occurring with context. So on this memorial, it says, on September 11, 2001, acts of terrorism took the lives of thousands at the World Trade Center in New York City and a grassy field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and here at the Pentagon. Now, while most people know about Flight 11 that hit the North Tower, Flight 175 that hit the South Tower, most people forget about Flight 93 that crashed in the middle of nowhere, Shanksville, Pennsylvania. At least that's the official story. The two basic theories here on Flight 93 are that either A, the passengers took control of the plane and heroically crashed it, or B, the passengers fought back, causing the hijackers to have to crash it in the forest. But if you Google it, you'll find kind of inconclusive answers. Now keep in mind, as Flight 93 is being hijacked, Dick Cheney has already sent out the order to shoot down any non-responsive, threatening-looking planes. So, 2 F-16 fighter pilots are looking for Flight 93. 6 eyewitnesses say that they saw a white jet flying low, basically hovering above the crash site, presumably an Air Force plane that shot down Flight 93.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen planes crash. Like, you guys have seen plane crashes, right? And normally there's a lot more, like, Rebel and stuff, right? Rebel, yeah, there's a lot more of that. Like, you would see more. Like, that looked like it was blown up. That looked like it was blown up, man. The room also contained all the documents about the missing $40 billion. Well, look at that. How convenient, right?
To protect anyone in Washington. The main body of the engine was found miles away from the crash site, comparable to what you'd see a heat-seeking missile do to an airliner. Conspiracy 3 states that the F-16 pilot actually did shoot Flight 93 with 2 missiles, taking the plane down. A lot of conspiracies, but the question is, did anyone in Shanksville, Pennsylvania see anything? Let's go find out. Look at this. Farm County out here. Made it to Shanksville,
All right.
a friendly little town, home of the Vikings. Let's go see what these people have to say. Hey there. You know about Flight 93? Yes. Do you know anyone who's seen it? Like when it crashed by chance? Yeah? You think they'd be interested in like a minute of talking about it? Okay.
The new fire chief lives in that brown house right there. I'd say he talked with you.
Question for you. Are you the fire chief?
So,
We were wondering if we had talked to anyone who may have seen it or knew anything about it.
Well, I was in high school.
Okay.
And I lived in Maryland. You might be able to find someone maybe at the store.
And after talking,
He's not gonna find anyone.
He's
He's not gonna find anyone.
near the town market, a man who looked mysteriously similar to Sam Hyde approached me.
We get a Sam Hyde reference here. Okay, that's new. For 9/11. For every shooting, Sam Hyde's referenced. Okay.
With information.
Were you
Sam
around
Hyde also
at the time?
didn't.
yeah, I was around.
Yeah? Did you see like first response go out?
A lot of activity. Just FBI, Secret Service,
Yeah?
things like that coming in, setting up barriers around the area up there and so forth.
Some speculate a fighter jet may have shot it beforehand.
I believe that myself.
Yeah.
That's my own personal believing. I grew up on part of the property that is now Flight 93 Memorial. My dad and my uncle were 2 of the people that had seen jets.
Okay.
Fly
But yet he
past.
does. He gets away
Several
with
of
it
the
all
fire
the time.
department members that had been on scene, and they said it was
Sam Hyde's
beyond what they
unstoppable.
would ever expected. An accident scene, I guess. You got body parts and clothes and briefcases, and would have flew 3 more seconds. It could have took out Shanksville School.
You're right.
It could have took out, who knows.
Did Al Qaeda take the plane down, or did the passengers take the plane down?
I think the passengers took the plane down. There's conspiracy theorists that think that the second plane was actually shot down before it hit anything, but they wouldn't admit to that because that's killing everybody.
Sure. You believe that?
I don't know.
All right, let's take a look at the memorial.
Well, that plane crash didn't look right. We don't see any plane. We see it look like it was destroyed, like blown up.
It's
We're almost done with this
respect
one.
that
We'll get
real
the more
people out there
spicier
lost
stuff.
their loved ones, regardless
Wow.
of how it happened or who did it.
We'll
the
do the
main
Mossad
questions
next.
conspiracy theorists have is, where did the evidence of the plane existing even go? How could the explosion of the plane have been so big that it left behind such little evidence? Would the government have had reason to shoot down Flight 93 if it ever presented a legitimate threat to hit the Capitol? Why would they jeopardize the plane hitting the Capitol? It is not insane to think that George Bush, as an example, would use 9/11 as a false flag to initiate war in Afghanistan, and then eventually Iraq. And ironically, guess where the Bush family's money comes from? Oil. Guess what they found in Afghanistan? Oil. Guess what they?
Yeah, that was a theory there, linking Bush to it, but I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced on that. No. I mean, we get oil. I mean, we can get plenty of oil from other places too. I mean, there was something much bigger than that. Anyway. Okay. So it didn't really, as far as Bush being behind 9/11, he was more of a puppet guy. He was just used. Let's see. Saudi Arabia? Let's do Saudi Arabia here. And then we'll do or let's do Mossad. Yeah, let's go and do the Mossad stuff.
Across the river from New York.
All right, we're looking at some old videos, man.
In the days after the September attacks, there were countless rumors about strange coincidences surrounding the events. One report about a group of Middle Eastern men spotted the morning of September 11th parked just across the river from New York City has not gone away. Investigation of their presence has led to questions about whether Israel was conducting espionage on U.S. soil. We're joined now by ABC's John Miller with an exclusive report this evening.
That's right, Elizabeth. This is a case that took the FBI and the CIA more than 2 months to sort out, while 5 Israelis waited in jail. It began when this woman was watching the Twin Towers burning from her apartment in New Jersey. She noticed 3 men on top of a van, posing for pictures with the towers burning in the background.
And I could see that they were like happy. You know, they didn't look shocked to me.
Yeah, they're
they
dancing.
Looked shocked. I thought it was very strange.
The witness called police, who stopped the van hours later and arrested 5 men. All 5, it turns out, were Israeli. They were turned over to the FBI. Sources tell ABC News during a check of national security databases, some of the men were listed as having had connections with Israeli intelligence.
So why would Israeli intelligence have agents at a van not too far from the attack? Could be just a coincidence. Just a coincidence.
At the FBI, that's...
Oh, and they were celebrating. You know what? It could be maybe they were going around and investigating oh man, I get a bonus check from if I could come up with an excuse. I can't think. You know what? They were going around checking out the different hotels, checking out their continental breakfast, seeing if it was kosher or not, and they're just dancing in celebration because they finally found one that was. That was horrible, but that's the best. It's such a weird coincidence, man.
Set off alarm bells. The FBI needed the answers to 3 important questions. Who were these men?
Right.
What brought them to that parking lot on the morning of September 11th? And did they have any advance knowledge of what was going to happen that day? The men said they were just taking pictures at the time. They said they worked for a company called Urban Moving. The FBI obtained a search warrant for the company's offices.
2 SUVs were filled up with between 9 and 12 boxes and computers.
Not long after the arrests, the offices of Urban Moving were simply abandoned. Almost everything was left behind.
Interesting.
In jail, the 5 Israelis were repeatedly interrogated and given lie detector tests. Stephen Gordon was their American lawyer.
They were asked questions if they had ever been approached by or hired by any non-United States intelligence community.
While there is still some debate among American intelligence officials, many investigators believe some of the men were part of an Israeli operation aimed at monitoring radical Islamic charities that support groups like Hamas, something lawyers for the 5 men and the Israeli government strongly deny.
These 5 Israelis were not involved in any intelligence operation in the United States. The story is simply false.
In the end,
it's just simply false. They were there on vacation. They were on vacation, and they were celebrating, guys, because they finally found a kosher hotel. I guess.
The FBI concluded there was no evidence that any of the 5 men had advance knowledge of the September 11th plot. After 71 days, the 5 Israelis were deported, leaving some ruffled feathers among both U.S. and Israeli officials. According to federal officials, the 5 men have been barred from returning to the United States for 10 years, they say because they violated immigration laws.
Bottom line, John, is there any evidence any of these 5 men knew about the September 11th attacks before they occurred?
The FBI spent a great deal of time examining this question. It does not appear that they were in place taking pictures before the planes hit, but shortly thereafter. And they say they haven't uncovered evidence that any of these 5 men, and they did their backgrounds, they searched apartments, they telephone records and so on, had any advance knowledge of the attack.
And while the FBI or certain sources might believe that in fact they were Israeli intelligence, they don't believe that the U.S. was a target, that they were actually investigating Muslim groups?
They believe if this was an intelligence operation by Israel, that it was focused on the Islamic groups and charities that raise money for groups that are considered by U.S. law enforcement and others terrorist groups. And you'll note that after September 11th, the U.S. moved on many of these groups with indictments, arrests, raids on their headquarters, something that hadn't happened prior to this.
These are.
We got another video
on
here.
July the 6th.
Oh, not this one, not this one.
Across the river from New York City has not gone away.
This one's connected to
Investigation of their presence has led to questions about whether Israel was conducting espionage on U.S. soil.
Man,
We're joined now by ABC's John Miller with an exclusive report this evening.
There's several videos on this. I definitely wanted to check out with you guys on this day.
Hey,
of all the
One moment here. By the way, guys, I did ask earlier, where were you guys during 9/11 and all that? If you haven't already answered, I guess you can. The white van sounds like white man. That's right. It was a misspeech there. Now I don't know why they were dancing and stuff like that. You know, I do find it interesting. I find it very interesting about that. Let me get to that playlist. It disappeared on me. Here we go.
In the days after the
Okay.
It has been more than 16 years since a civilian working for the Navy was charged with passing secrets to Israel. Jonathan Pollard.
Oh, that sucks, East Coast Podcast. Your parents just abandoned you? While everyone else got picked up? Damn, dude. Yucky sock puppet. Oh, you were in kindergarten? Did he make any? Did you conveniently or by coincidence make any blocks and knock them over too? I mean, you're in kindergarten. I could only imagine that. I mean, like, you probably wouldn't even know what's going on, right? Oh, you think? No, I hope Ben would shower properly. I hope it motivates him to shower more. It's good to do that. He could do that. He takes a bath every now and then, but it would be good if he took more baths.
Pled guilty to conspiracy to commit espionage and is serving a life sentence. At first, Israeli leaders claimed Pollard was part of a rogue operation, but later took responsibility for his work. Now, Fox News has learned some U.S. investigators believe that there are Israelis again very much engaged in spying in and on the U.S., who may have known things they didn't tell us before September 11th. Fox News correspondent Carl Cameron has details in the first of a four-part series.
Since September 11th, more than 60 Israelis have been arrested or detained, either under the new Patriot...
By the way, how quickly do you think that guy got the memo to not talk about this? I mean, I imagine very quickly.
Anti-terrorism law or for immigration violations. A handful of active Israeli military were among those detained, according to investigators, who say some of the detainees also failed polygraph questions when asked about alleged surveillance activities against and in the United States. There is no indication that the Israelis were involved in the 9/11 attacks, but investigators suspect that the Israelis may have gathered intelligence about the attacks in advance and not shared it. A highly placed investigator said there are, quote, tie-ins. But when asked for details, he flatly refused to describe them, saying, quote, evidence linking these Israelis to 9/11 is classified. I cannot tell you about evidence that has been gathered. It's classified information. Fox News has learned that one group of Israelis, spotted in North Carolina recently, is suspected of keeping an apartment in California to spy on a group of Arabs who the United States is also investigating for links to terrorism. Numerous classified documents obtained by Fox News indicate that even prior to September 11th, as many as 140 other Israelis had been detained or arrested in a secretive and sprawling investigation.
Wait, back that up. Did I hear the number right? Did he say 144?
Indicate that even prior to September 11th, as many as 140 other Israelis had been detained or arrested in a secretive and sprawling investigation into suspected espionage by Israelis in the United States. Investigators from numerous government agencies are part of a working group that's been compiling evidence since the mid-90s. These documents detail hundreds of incidents in cities and towns across the country that investigators say, quote, may well be an organized intelligence gathering activity. The first part of the investigation focuses on Israelis who say they are art students from the University of Jerusalem and Bezalel Academy. They repeatedly made contact with U.S. government personnel, the report says, by saying they wanted to sell cheap art or handiwork. Documents say they...
Wait. What?
And Bezalel Academy. They repeatedly made contact with U.S. government personnel, the report says, by saying they wanted to sell cheap art or handiwork. Documents say they, quote, targeted and penetrated military bases, the DEA, FBI, and dozens of other government facilities, and even secret offices and unlisted private homes of law enforcement and intelligence personnel. The majority of those questioned, quote, stated they served in military intelligence, electronic surveillance intercept, and or explosive ordnance units. Another part of the investigation has resulted in the detention and arrests of dozens of Israelis at American Mall kiosks, where they've been selling toys called Puzzle Car and Zoomcopter. Investigators suspect a front. Shortly after the New York Times and Washington Post reported the Israeli...
I remember seeing a lot of those things. Well, I never lived in New York, but like, you would see those weird kiosks in the mall selling some bullshit toys. And the people running it, they always look, Jewish. Probably just coincidence. Then this stuff I haven't actually seen before. You know, like when 9/11 happened, I just remember being told, "Oh man, it's Bin Laden. We have to go after him." Somehow it's Saddam. He's roped into this. He's the mastermind. He has weapons of mass destruction. We got to get them. Just WMDs.
In the detention and arrests of dozens of Israelis at American Mall kiosks, where they've been selling toys called Puzzle Car and Zoomcopter. Investigators suspect a front. Shortly after the New York Times and Washington Post reported the Israeli detentions last month, the carts began vanishing. Zoomcopter's webpage says, "We are aware of the situation caused by thousands of mall carts being closed at the last minute.
Italian.
This in no
That's
way
right.
reflects
They're
the
Italian.
quality of the toy or its saleability. The problem lies in the operator's business policies." Why would Israelis spy in and on the U.S.? A General Accounting Office investigation referred to Israel as Country A and said, quote, "According to a U.S. intelligence agency, the government of Country A conducts the most aggressive espionage operation against the U.S. of any U.S. ally." A defense intelligence report said Israel has a voracious appetite for information and, quote, "The Israelis are motivated by strong survival instincts which dictate every facet of their political and economic policies. It aggressively collects military and industrial technology, and the U.S. is a high priority target." The document concludes, quote, "Israel possesses the resources and technical capability to achieve its collection objectives."
I mean, people say Mossad is like one of the best intelligence operations in the world. I mean, they're just spying on Muslim groups.
Spokesman for the the Israeli embassy here in Washington issued a categorical denial, saying any suggestion that Israelis are spying in or on the U.S. is, quote, "simply not true. There are other things to consider, and in the days ahead, we will take a look at the U.S. phone system and law enforcement's methods for wiretaps, and an investigation into the possibility that both have been compromised by our friends and allies overseas." Brett?
Carl, what about this question of advanced knowledge of what was going to happen on 9/11? How clear are investigators that some Israeli agents may have known something?
Well, it's very explosive information, obviously, and there's a great deal of evidence that they say they have collected, none of it necessarily conclusive. It's more when they put it all together. A bigger question, they say, is how could they not have known? Almost a direct quote, Brett.
This going to the fact that they were spying on some Arabs, right?
Correct.
All right, Carl, thanks very much. We reported on the approximately 60 Israelis who had been detained in connection with the September 11th terrorism investigation. Carl Cameron reported that U.S. investigators suspect that some of these Israelis were spying on Arabs in this country and may have turned up information on the planned terrorist attacks back in September that was not passed on. Tonight, in the second of 4 reports on spying by Israelis in the U.S., we learn about an Israeli-based private communications company for whom a half dozen of those...
And by the way, this is something you don't really hear talked about anymore, right? But you do hear, in fact, currently, there's families that are suing Saudi Arabia for their alleged involvement.
The 60 detained suspects worked. American investigators fear information generated by this firm may have fallen into the wrong hands and had the effect of impeding the September 11th terror inquiry. Here's Carl Cameron's second report.
Fox News has learned that some American terrorism investigators fear certain suspects in the September 11th attacks may have managed to stay ahead of them by knowing who and when investigators are calling on the telephone. How? By obtaining and analyzing data that's generated every time someone in the U.S. makes a phone call.
One sitting and say, please.
Here's how the system works. Most directory assistance calls and virtually all call records and billing in the U.S. are done for the phone companies by Amdocs Limited, an Israeli-based private telecommunications company. Amdocs has contracts with the 25 biggest phone companies in America and more worldwide. The White House and other secure government phone lines are protected, but it is virtually impossible to make a call on normal phones without generating an Amdocs record of it. In recent years, the FBI and other government agencies have investigated Amdocs more than once. The firm has repeatedly and adamantly denied any security...
Dude, I had no idea how, interconnected it was. Holy crap.
breaches or wrongdoing. But sources tell Fox News that in 1999, the super-secret National Security Agency, headquartered in northern Maryland, issued what's called a top-secret, sensitive, compartmentalized information report, TSSCI, warning that records of calls in the United States were getting into foreign hands, in Israel in particular. Investigators do not believe calls are being listened to, but the data about who's calling whom and when is plenty valuable in itself. An internal Amdocs memo to senior company executives suggests just how Amdocs generated call records could be used. Quote, widespread data mining techniques and algorithms, combining both the properties of the customer, like credit rating, and properties of the specific behavior such as whom the customers are calling. The Amdocs memo says the system should be used to prevent phone fraud, but U.S. counterintelligence analysts say it could also be used to spy through the phone system. Fox News has learned that the NSA has held numerous classified conferences to warn the FBI and CIA how Amdocs records could be used. At one NSA briefing, a diagram by the Argonne National Lab was used to show that if the phone records are not secure, major security breaches are possible. Another briefing document said, quote, it has become increasingly apparent that systems and networks are vulnerable. Such crimes always involve unauthorized persons or persons who exceed their authorization, acting on exploitable vulnerabilities.
Okay.
Those vulnerabilities are growing because, according to another briefing, the U.S. relies too much on foreign companies like Amdocs for high-tech equipment and software. Quote, many factors have led to increased dependence on code developed overseas. We buy rather than train or develop solutions. U.S. intelligence does not believe the Israeli...
Isn't that still our problem today?
government is involved in a misuse of Amdocs information, and Amdocs insists that its data is secure. What U.S. government officials are worried about, however, is the possibility that Amdocs data could get into the wrong hands, particularly organized crime, and that would not be the first time that such a thing has happened. Fox News has documents of a 1997 drug trafficking case in Los Angeles in which telephone information, the types that Amdocs collects, was used to, quote, completely compromise the communications of the FBI, the Secret Service, the DEA, and the LAPD. And we'll have that and a lot more in the days ahead, Fred.
Carl, I want to take you back to your report last night on those 60 people who are Israelis who were detained in the anti-terror investigation, and the suspicion that some investigators have that they may have picked up information on the 9/11 attacks ahead of time, not passed it on.
Amazing.
There was a report, you'll recall, that the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, did indeed send representatives to the U.S.
And let me take this time to respond to some of you guys in the chat. Alex Jones says he was in 4th grade when 9/11 happened. I still remember my teacher announcing it to the class when she explained what the Twin Towers were. Yeah. Right? And it, well, I mean, do you remember how you felt? Do you remember, like, you know, what happened? Mackenzie kind of explained a little bit more here. She said, we watched the second plane hit live. The look of horror on my... Is that autistic, artistic director's face just said, go home now and call your families. All right.
To warn just before 9/11 that a major terrorist attack was imminent. Why does that not? How does that leave room for the lack of a warning?
Well, I remember the report, Britt. We did it first internationally right here on your show on the 14th. What investigators are saying is that that warning from the Mossad was nonspecific and general, and they believe that it may have had something to do with the desire to protect what are called sources and methods in the intelligence community. The suspicion being perhaps those sources and methods were taking place right here in the United States. The question came up in the Select Intelligence Committee on Capitol Hill today. They intend to look into what we reported last night, and specifically that possibility, Brett.
So, in other words, the problem wasn't the lack of a warning. The problem was lack of useful details.
Quantity of information.
All right, Carl, thanks very much. Coming up next.
Well, I mean, if they knew something. Oh, there's more to this video. And this is censored 2001 Fox News report, Israeli spying in and on the U.S. Okay. There's a little bit more.
Israeli-based company called Amdocs that generates the computerized records and billing data for nearly every phone call made in America. As Carl Cameron reported, U.S. investigators digging into the 9/11 terrorist attacks fear that suspects may have been tipped off to what they were doing by information leaking out of Amdocs. In tonight's report, we learned that the concern about phone security extends to another company founded in Israel that provides the technology that the U.S. government uses for electronic eavesdropping. Here is Carl Cameron's third report.
The company is Comverse Infosys.
Well, Mackenzie, was your artistic director also autistic? I mean, it's okay if he was, or she was, or, whatever. Alex Shield Jones says, I was confused as a kid. They didn't know if we should have went home or not. My teacher's sister lived in New York. And that, oh, wow. Dang, dude. And by the way, I know I said no drinking on stream. I am so tempted today. Look at me, man. I'm wearing like a very, very colorful shirt here today. Like, the temptation is there. But if I do, it's like I failed. I mean, quite literally, it would be me failing on not drinking. No, she was cool? Okay. Wait, Mackenzie. You could still be cool and be autistic, okay? I don't know if you know that or not. What I'm saying is I can be persuaded. But probably not. I shouldn't. All right, let's continue.
Subsidiary of an Israeli-run private telecommunications firm with offices throughout the U.S. It provides wiretapping equipment for law enforcement. Here's how wiretapping works in the U.S. Every time you make a call, it passes through the nation's elaborate network of switchers and routers run by the phone companies.
Right.
Custom computers and software made by companies like Comverse are tied into that network to intercept, record, and store the wiretapped calls, and at the same time transmit them to investigators. The manufacturers have continuing access to the computers so they can service them and keep them free of glitches.
Right.
This process was authorized by the 1994 Communications Assistance for Law Enforcement Act, or CALEA. Senior government officials have now told Fox News that while CALEA made wiretapping easier, it has led to a system that is seriously vulnerable to compromise and may have undermined the whole wiretapping system. Indeed, Fox News has learned that Attorney General John Ashcroft and FBI Director Robert Mueller were both warned October 18th in a hand-delivered letter from 15 local, state, and federal law enforcement officials who complained that, quote, law enforcement's current electronic surveillance capabilities are less effective today than they were at the time CALEA was enacted. Comverse insists the equipment it installs is secure, but the complaint about this system is that the wiretap computer programs made by Comverse have in effect a back door through which wiretaps themselves can be intercepted by unauthorized parties. Adding to the suspicions is the fact that in Israel, Comverse works closely with the Israeli government and under special programs gets reimbursed for up to 50% of its research.
That's how Mossad got its reputation, man, as being like one of the top, like, intelligence gathering, I guess, agencies. Like, and you know what, man? I know it's only like 11 of you guys here. 12 guys now. I'm not anti-Semitic. I like, but I do find this curious to me. I find it very curious. I find it very interesting. I find it like, why is the system built like this? It makes sense if you're the one who's like wanting to gather the information, why you would want to have it all come to you. All right.
And development costs by the Israeli Ministry of Industry and Trade. But investigators within the DEA, INS, and FBI have all told Fox News that to pursue or even suggest Israeli spying through Comverse is considered career suicide. And sources say that while various FBI inquiries into Converse have been conducted over the years, they've been halted before the actual equipment has ever been thoroughly tested for leaks. A 1999 FCC document indicates several government agencies expressed deep concerns that too many unauthorized, non-law enforcement personnel can access the wiretap system. And the FBI's own nondescript office in Chantilly, Virginia, that actually oversees the CALEA wiretapping program, is among the most agitated about the threat. But there is a bitter turf war internally at FBI. It is the FBI's office in Quantico, Virginia, that has jurisdiction over awarding contracts and buying intercept equipment. And for years, they've thrown much of the business to Converse. A handful of former U.S. law enforcement officials involved in awarding Converse government contracts over the years now work for the company. Numerous sources say some of those individuals were asked to leave government service under what knowledgeable sources call troublesome circumstances that remain under administrative review within the Justice Department.
Wow.
And what
Look
troubles
at that.
investigators most, particularly in New York in the counterterrorism investigation of the World Trade Center attack, is that on a number of cases, suspects that they had sought to wiretap and surveil immediately changed their telecommunications processes. They started acting much differently as soon as those supposedly secret wiretaps went into place. Brett?
Carl, is there any reason to suspect in this instance that the Israeli government is involved?
No, there's not, but there are growing instincts and an awful lot of law enforcement officials in a variety of...
That's weird. I mean, I would say, maybe. It seems like it.
Agencies who suspect that and have begun compiling evidence and a highly classified investigation into precisely that possibility. Brett?
All right, Carl, thanks very much.
On a long-standing government espionage investigation.
Oh, we got a new guy. I guess the previous guy got fired for talking about it too much, but now this guy's talking about it.
Federal officials this year have arrested or detained nearly 200 Israeli citizens suspected of belonging to a, quote, organized intelligence gathering operation. The Bush administration has deported most of those arrested after September 11th, although some are in custody under the new anti-terrorism law. Cameron also described an investigation into the possibility that an Israeli firm generated billing data that could be used for intelligence purposes, and described concerns that the federal government's own wiretapping system may be vulnerable. Tonight, in part 4 of the series, we'll learn about the improbable roots of the probe, a drug case that went bad 4 years ago in L.A.
Yeah, we got a little bit of that from the previous, I guess, news segment.
Los Angeles, 1997. A major local, state, and federal drug investigation sours. The suspects? Israeli organized crime, with operations in New York, Miami, Las Vegas, Canada, Israel, and Egypt.
What? Israeli drug mafia? Oy vey, man. I've been asleep for a long time. I've been living under a rock. What?
Allegations? Cocaine and ecstasy trafficking and sophisticated white-collar credit card and computer fraud. The problem? According to classified law enforcement documents obtained by Fox News, the bad guys had the cops' beepers, cell phones, even home phones under surveillance.
Oh, I heard that too. The Grace might have destroyed her laptop. You think she was self-sabotaging? You think she doesn't want to do any more of those karaoke streams?
Some who did get caught admitted to having hundreds of numbers and using them to avoid arrest. Quote, this compromised law enforcement communications between LAPD detectives and other assigned law enforcement officers working various aspects of the case. The organization discovered communications between Organized Crime Intelligence Division detectives, the FBI, and the Secret Service. Shock spread from the DEA to the FBI in Washington and then the CIA. An investigation of the problem, according to law enforcement documents, concluded, quote, the organization has apparent extensive access to database systems to identify pertinent personal and biographical information.
And it's kind of funny how they do, right? Being how all that phone information goes to a company that is Israeli owned. I had no idea.
Tried to find out where the information might have
I
come.
had no idea it was like that. Holy crap, dude. Amdocs.
They looked at Amdocs, a publicly traded firm based
the
in
Italians,
Israel.
yeah.
Amdocs generates billing data for virtually every call in America, and they do credit checks. The company denies any leaks, but investigators still fear that the firm's data is getting into the wrong hands. When investigators checked their own wiretapping system for leaks, they grew concerned about potential vulnerabilities in the computers that intercept, record, and store the wiretapped calls. A main contractor is Comverse Infosys, which works closely with the Israeli government and under a special grant program is reimbursed for up to 50% of its research and development costs by Israel's Ministry of Industry and Trade. Asked this week.
So you think Israel was low-key pushing drugs on us to make some money, to fund some stuff, kind of like how the CIA would do some drug-running operations to make some money to fund things? I mean, I would say, yeah. I'd say that's what it sounds like to me. Wow.
About another sprawling investigation and the detention of 60 Israelis since September 11th, the Bush administration treated the questions like hot potatoes.
I would just refer you to the Department of Justice with it. I'm not familiar with the report.
I'm aware that some Israeli citizens have been detained. With respect to why they are being detained and the other aspects of your question, whether it's because they are in intelligence services or what they were doing, I will defer to the Department of Justice and the FBI to answer that.
He's not allowed to talk
Beyond
about
the
it.
60 apprehended or detained and many deported since September 11th, another group of 140 Israeli individuals have been arrested and detained in this year in what government documents describe as, quote, an organized intelligence gathering operation designed to, quote, penetrate government facilities. Most of those individuals said they had served in the Israeli military, which is compulsory there, but they also had, most of them, intelligence expertise and either worked for Amdocs or other companies in Israel that specialize in wiretapping. Earlier this week, the Israeli embassy here in Washington denied any spying against or in the United States. Tony?
Carl, we've heard the comments from Ari Fleischer and Colin Powell. What are officials saying behind the scenes?
Well,
they're saying Israel has no involvement in,
pandemonium described at both the FBI, the DEA, and the INS. A lot of these problems have been well known to some investigators, many of whom have contributed to the reporting on this story. And what they say is happening is supervisors and management are now going back and collecting much of the information because there's tremendous pressure from top levels of all of those agencies to find out exactly what's going on. At the DEA and the FBI already, a variety of administrative reviews are underway, in addition to the investigation of the phenomenon. They want to find...
Okay, so they're still gathering information. Okay. The next video on this playlist is... Okay, Israel art students, Mossad, lived next door to 9/11 hijackers in Florida. This is from a DEA report. Ecstasy ring. Look at that. See, this is the part of the stream where it gets, like, interesting. You know, like, this stuff right here is interesting to me. It's like... It's kind of a risky rabbit hole to get into, you know. It's a... That's his ID there.
Dire sur la situation au Proche-Orient. Toujours à propos d'Israël, mais concernant l'Afghanistan maintenant.
So, make sure you read, guys. This is a affair of espionage which sows confusion. Israeli network has dismantled in the United States and
l'une de ses missions aurait été de pister les hommes d'Al-Qaïda. C'était avant les attentats du 11 septembre.
Is before the attacks September 11th. Certain sources even go further and indicate that the Mossad would not have delivered all the information in its possession to the United States. At the moment, the FBI holds to strict denial. I'm not saying those names.
Intelligence Online est une revue française spécialisée.
I like French. I like the way it sounds.
Dans les questions de renseignement. Le dernier numéro
reveals spectacular affair of espionnage.
Le démantèlement d'un réseau d'agents israéliens du Mossad opérant aux États-Unis. Les journalistes d'Intelligence Online se basent sur un rapport du département de la justice américaine. Ce rapport révèle un certain nombre de coïncidences troublantes. Exemple, 5 de ces Israéliens suspects ont été interpellés à Hollywood, en Floride, bourgade de 25 000 habitants au nord de Miami, envahie par les enquêteurs du FBI au lendemain des attentats du 11 septembre. C'est en effet ici qu'ont vécu au moins 4 terroristes ayant participé au détournement des avions, dont Mohamed Atta. Question, les espions présumés du Mossad...
The spies presumed from the Mossad were there
Se
accidentally.
trouvaient-ils là par hasard ou en...
Just accidentally. Okay, just a coincidence.
Qu'était-il sur les réseaux d'Al-Qaïda?
Les services de renseignement israéliens...
Well, I mean, it could be the subject matter. It could be that we're getting to this. I have no idea.
Si tant est que l'hypothèse se confirme, ont pu effectivement avoir, grosso modo, dans leur œil...
Effectively, certain Islamists in the territory of the United States.
Pour cible, certains islamistes sur le territoire des États-Unis, ça ne veut pas dire qu'ils étaient
That does
en
not mean
mesure
that they
de prédire ce qui allait se passer.
were capable of predicting what was going to
La
take
police
place.
fédérale américaine, le FBI, dément ce soir l'existence.
Of course, there's denial.
C'est donc le démantèlement d'un tel réseau.
There's denial. Okay. Denial.
New tonight, are there...
The next one, Israeli art students buying Mossad op. Okay.
spies among us?
Seems traveling door-to-door salesmen in northern Utah County are sometimes asking some strange questions. ABC4's Brent Hunsaker has been looking into this, Brent.
Yeah, these salespeople say they're Israeli students. They even produce Israeli passports. They say they're selling their own artwork to raise money to open a gallery. So, why would...
Will you buy my art?
Israeli art students want to know about the National Security Agency. West of Redwood Road at Camp Williams.
Wait. And I'm guessing they're not going door to door to just random people. They must have been going to door to people who might know something, right? Because you wouldn't just go to some random person and ask them about the NSA. Yeah, I don't remember much of this either. Like, this stuff was not covered very often. What we're watching here is stuff that was, like, I'm assuming suppressed and kind of swept under the rug. I mean, these questions can land you being caught anti-Semitic, first off. You know, that's the go-to spin. You're not really allowed to look into it. It's so... That's what pisses me off about, like, looking into the shit that Israel does. You know, you look into the stuff they do, and if you're critical at all in any sort of way, it's like, oh, you're anti-Semitic. No, that's not what's going on here. Okay. I mean, some people might be, but, you know. The art was bugged. You think they bought it? You think these people bought the art? You can easily put a... Wait. That sounds like... any of you guys seen Andor? That Star Wars show? It was actually a really good show. It's probably like the best thing that has come out lately of Star Wars, and it really has very little to do with Star Wars. It's a spy show. But like one of the plots was that one of the guys working to undermine the Empire, he would collect artifacts, and he would sell these artifacts to key people, and they would bug it. And that's how they would gather the information on, on whatever. Anyway.
The NSA just starting on its new data center. So what will the super secret agency stuff into a 1 million square foot building? It's a secret, and one that apparently interests art students who are selling door to door. The word is going out through blogs and even church bulletins. One such notice to women of the LDS Church in Highland said the students could have ties to organized crime and terror groups, and that part of their mission here is to gain information on the new NSA installation. This whole starving Israeli artist spiel is nothing new. It's been going on for years all over the country, all over the world. But in the United States, it's interesting that they seem to have a fascination with government facilities. For example, in Florida, it was DEA. Here, NSA. Gail Black of Eagle Mountain bought this painting from one of those...
Yeah, they bought him. They bought him. Okay. Did she find out that it was bugged?
Israeli students.
And then afterwards I thought, oh, what did I do?
But no questions about the NSA data center.
No.
Officer Matt Showerhammer of the Saratoga Springs...
Did you inspect the painting at least? No, you did not? Is there anything in the frame? There might be some sort of a spying device in the frame there. Okay.
Police department got no confession when he caught up to a group in his town.
They looked like everyday college students.
But he discovered they're no artists.
I said, if you're actually an artist, why don't you draw me something? Gave them a piece of paper, gave them my pen. They produced a picture that was about on par with what my kindergartner could have done.
Well, that's funny. But I don't know if that's like investigative police work there, but I like that. I like that. Yeah, he's not an artist. I asked him to draw something right now, and he just drew a stick figure. Come on, man. You didn't paint this. You're not a Bob Ross.
He gave them a ticket for soliciting without a business license. You know, in all probability, they just may be young people selling cheap art at high prices. A scam. They admitted as much to the police. So how do you protect yourself? Easy. Ask for credentials, especially a local business license. Don't give
Or how about just shut the door on them? How about that? But anyone comes to my door, I'm like, I don't got any money, man. I'm tapped the fuck out, dude. You need to go. Oh, we can run your credit. I said, no, you're not hearing me, bro. I got no money. Go. That's if I even answer the door.
Without any personal information, call police, and for heaven's sakes, don't talk about the NSA.
Well, what is the random person? Okay, all right. More about the Israeli art students.
Los Angeles. Good morning.
Good morning, Brian. Thank you for your network. Actually, Mr. Wolf, I back in December. Carl Cameron from Fox News ran a 4-part series that detailed
a really
massive spying operation by Israel that was tapping all the phones in the United States and tapping all the secure lines of the FBI, the CIA, and the White House.
All the phones in the United States?
Yeah, through companies that
imagine that transcription effort.
Yeah, well, of course it's done with.
Okay, that's why this video is in the playlist. This guy is gonna be like, "Oh no, that's not happening. That sounds outrageous. One company gets all the information? No way."
Keywords and all that in software, but the other thing was that all the secure lines to the White House and basically the entire federal government. They also said, and this was corroborated in a report released by the DEA, that there was a team
definitely
of,
hit the like button.
Art students.
And I'll tell you what. I know I said sober stream. If you guys want to throw in a super thanks or a super chat or a membership, oh man, I'm just saying I could be tempted.
That were expelled. Actually, it was the largest spy-related expulsion in American history. That had teams of intelligence guys, Israeli intelligence guys, on the same block And
this was a Fox report?
A Fox report by Carl Cameron. It was then, and they were the only ones that picked it up, although
Is that good or bad? Did you believe the report?
Yeah, there definitely was a true report. The local newspaper reports had it and others, but no one on the air carried it, except Fox News. And then, to make matters worse, Fox News, even on their web, you can go into the December archives and look at the report. Well, actually, you can look at where the report was.
Dude, he looks so uncomfortable, right? Look at this guy.
Israeli spying or whatever, and they actually pulled it from the archives, and nobody followed up. Even though,
this is a conspiracy of silence, are you saying?
Well, if you go back through the archives, Mr. Wolf, you'll see that it's the only report pulled.
To remind you,
go back through
the Fox News stuff
thanks.
was censored.
Next call for Bill Gertz comes from Newark, Delaware, on our independent line. Good morning.
Good morning. Let's see, I was interested in the story Carl Cameron broke, 120 Israeli spies that were arrested in the United States shortly after the September incident, and some of these people had been shadowing the terrorists that blew up the buildings, living in the vicinity and keeping up with them. On May 17th, 2 Israelis were arrested in Washington State in a van that had traces of high explosives. I think it was 5 Israeli military spies, as the way they described, were in a building in Brooklyn watching the
dancing Italians he's talking about.
The September bombing. And all of this has been kept out of the press. And I just wonder, this is good reading. This is what we want to know about. If Israel supposedly knew, and there's stories that their intelligence agency told our government, why isn't that the story? When did we know? What did they know? When did they let us know?
Are you familiar with this story?
Yes, good questions.
He's going to say it's a bogus conspiracy theory.
As for the 120 Israeli spies, that's a story that's out there. I've looked at that a little bit. I really haven't found really what's behind that story. What is going on there is that there have been a number of Israelis, and I've actually seen some people come to my house in Maryland who are selling art, and they identify themselves.
Well, I'm talking about it now, and we got 8 people watching. Damn, Schizo Spud is outdoing me today. Damn.
As students, and there's something unusual about it. I have a feeling that this may be some
brief blackout
collection aspect to it, but I don't see any kind of major effort to figure out. I know that the U.S. government has expelled some of these people.
What was that brief blackout about? Yeah, see, that's why we're not questioning anything about that. We're talking about Italians. Okay.
You mentioned the May 17th incident.
I think we're talking about Italy,
Coast.
right?
I looked into this very carefully, and this was a story that 2 Israeli nationals were stopped in a rental van near a military, I think it was a naval base in Washington State. And the initial reports were that they had somehow detected some explosives on the steering wheel. And obviously that's a huge story. Well, I looked into it, and the word I got from federal officials was that it was a false indicator, that there weren't really explosive traces there.
Okay.
Now,
wait.
I don't know what to make of it.
Wait. It was just a false positive for explosives? A trace of explosive stuff? Okay. Well,
I'm
right.
not out there. If I were out there, perhaps I could get a little bit closer to the story. But
why don't we test it
the
again?
initial blush on that was there wasn't anything to it.
Could you go back? You mentioned students selling art. What was the connection again to the...
Well, that somehow these Israeli art students have been spotted around a number of places, including some federal buildings, and that has raised some counterintelligence concerns within the U.S. government that perhaps the Israelis have been conducting some type of intelligence collection activities. I haven't really been able to get all the facts of that story, but I think he was referring to Carl Cameron's story on Fox News, and he's done some good reporting on it.
But one thing I really want to ask you.
I was wrong. I thought he was just going to sweep it. I mean, it was a little bit like that. Right? I mean, he was talking about it, but he was saying he doesn't really know anything about it. Was that sweeping? But put some let's put some life in the chat here. Put some broomsticks if you think that was sweeping.
I hope you bring it up when Carl Cameron comes on, is that there's a big controversy over a report he did for Fox on 9/11, and where he implicated or he suggested that it was in a 4-part series that there were a bunch of Israeli art students that were involved in espionage and may have been following Al-Qaeda, and there was concern that they didn't report this incident to the American authorities, and they were eventually left on visa violations. They were arrested, about 140 of them. Carl Cameron reported this. There was a big brouhaha, and it was on Fox's website, and it was taken off of Fox's website, and it's been a big story in Le Monde. It's been a big story in Le Humanité, and it's been reported in Salon.com, and everywhere you turn and you see the story, the whole thing is always reported about Carl Cameron and his story, and with these oblique quotes about Carl Cameron being puzzled by this strong reaction and everything. So please ask it. I bet you you'll probably have more guests ask Carl Cameron.
He's getting his broom.
We've had a number of calls on that as well, and he'll be here in about 35 minutes. We'll bring it up with him. Next call, Silver Spring, Maryland, Republican line for Carl Cameron.
Yes. Good morning. I'm calling to congratulate Mr. Cameron on his reporting. He broke one of the most important stories this year with the Israeli spy ring. Problem was that Fox News.
Dude, you can guess the ethnicity of the caller. I mean, I'm
pulling off the networks almost as soon as he reported it, and I just like to ask Mr. Cameron how he felt about that, and how he feels in general when news with potentially damaging, incriminating information against Israel is pulled off almost as soon as it's aired.
Thank you, and we should point out, Carl Cameron, that one of the first calls about an hour and 20 minutes ago dealt with this very issue. First of all, what is the caller talking about, and what happened?
In December of last year, Fox did a 4-part series. I reported a 4-part series that described several scenarios, several dynamics.
That's the same guy? He doesn't even look anything like him. What?
Within the continental United States. There's a report that was circulated, it has now been disclosed by the DEA, that reported that over the course of a year and a half, numerous federal agencies have encountered individuals who refer to themselves as Israeli art students, essentially visiting these facilities, military installations, FBI, DEA, INS, both the publicly listed addresses as well as some that are not made public, and those particular facilities are intended to be kept secret. And they began to ask questions and attempt to sell their art, and we reported that this was a dynamic that had been described by government documents as an intelligence gathering operation. Following that particular story, we then described the U.S. intelligence community's grave concerns that our civilian telecommunications are compromised and vulnerable to
Hurricane, we played your video.
Gathering, because many of the companies that provide services in our telephone calling are owned by or closely aligned with Israel, and that they have been occasionally investigated by our federal government for tapping or taking information from our telecommunications for the purposes of intelligence. And finally, that there is a concern in our government that the way in which we actually conduct wiretapping under law enforcement granted judge-approved surveillance subpoenas is also potentially vulnerable to compromise and intercept. Excuse me, again, because some of the companies involved with the manufacturing of that equipment are Israeli, and that they've never been tested for vulnerabilities, and that too has been investigated as a potential threat. Potential and investigation are the important things to remember. There is no claim by anybody in our government that the government of Israel or anybody in Israel is actually spying, that these are mysteries, that there is evidence.
There's no claim, but they're being investigated. There's concerns, but don't worry. And I guess were these investigations ever concluded?
To suggest a problem, and they've yet to been able to solve it.
Did anyone tell you to kill the story?
No, as a matter of fact, what happened was we did put the transcripts of my story on the internet, and after a period of several days, it was taken down off the internet as what I've been told was merely to make available for a huge deluge of war-related material. You got to remember, this was December, so we were still very much in the throes of the September 11th aftermath.
Convenient.
And there was war underway in Afghanistan, and they had to make way for other news, and we've done some follow-up reporting on it, and there has.
You guys believe him? You guys believe him?
Since our story, which was denounced by the pro-Israel lobby in this country as anti-Semitic and biased and inaccurate, much of what we've reported has now been reported all over the world.
Is he related to you,
because
McKinsey?
The documents that I used and was careful to protect, because some of it was considered classified and secret at the time, have now appeared virtually all over the world, corroborating our story and what we reported.
Well, I agree that talks should continue.
What? Okay. Kind of looked like Hillary for a second.
Palestinian state after the violence has stopped is a laudable goal. I certainly hope that the Cheney visit is a productive visit. I think the moderate Arab states have to be working closely with us to find both a way to stop the violence and an end game that makes sense for everyone in the region, which includes the survival and security and respect for the state of Israel, which I think is absolutely essential to an essential goal of U.S. foreign policy, and one I strongly support.
Wow, that sounds similar, like today. Wait, repeat that about the security. We need a.
I think the moderate Arab states have to be working closely with us to find both a way to stop the violence and an end game that makes sense for everyone in the region, which includes the survival and security and respect for the state of Israel, which I think is absolutely essential to an essential goal of U.S. foreign policy, and one I strongly
Wow. We're still talking about the same thing today. Imagine that.
support.
In Robert Simpson emails, could you ask Representative Harman about the deportation of Israeli art students spying in the U.S., and should this worry us? Are you familiar with this issue?
Uh-oh.
Of Israeli arts, I'm certainly familiar with the fact that we have been rounding up people on student visas and considering whether they might have had anything to do with terrorism, and some of those rounded up are Israelis, but I don't know the specific facts. I would not like to comment, except to say that I am not in favor of unlimited detention. I voted for the Patriot Act, which passed the Congress, which put limits on detention, and I think there ought to be court review after 7 days or an appropriate...
I mean, you could review it and then you keep the detention going. Okay. So anyway, that was that one. We have one more video in this playlist, and this one is 1993 World Trade Center bomb arrests stir Muslim population.
And in other news, hundreds of Muslims gathered today outside the Jersey City Mosque where Sheikh Abdel Rahman preached, and the bombing suspects prayed. The demonstrators said they wanted to send a message.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
They prayed, chanted, and accused the news media of distorting the World Trade Center bombing. They said their Islamic faith should not be equated with terrorism.
Wow.
Should not be identified
This is also something.
with those who decide, for whatever particular reason, whether it be political or otherwise, to take innocent lives in their hand and to do it under the disguise of what they may call jihad or holy war.
At least some of the people there today tried to shift the blame for the bombing away from the Palestinian suspects in custody, Mohammed Salameh and Nidal Ayad, and turn the blame to Israel. This paper handed out at the rally claims Salameh rented the van of death to do work for an Israeli Secret Service agent.
There is no God but Allah. There is no God but Allah. Muhammad is his messenger. Muhammad is his messenger.
Meanwhile,
I'm sure I'm sure people in the UK would definitely agree that it is all peaceful and all that right now, right? I mean, it's all fine, right? Okay. So we actually have. We got deep into the Saudi and Italian rabbit hole. Okay, very deep into that. Very deep. Almost too deep. We got
9/11 is the biggest.
We have something else here. I wanted to play here with you guys. Okay.
A newly declassified FBI report.
This is about Saudi Arabia. A little known unknown fact. I was actually born in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I was actually born in Saudi Arabia. My dad, he was a pipe fitter. He worked in the pipe fields, and he got his housing paid for. And I mean, that's great. You get free housing. Oh man. All right. Really? Yeah, that is true. I was born in Saudi Arabia. That's right. Blackstone dead man. All right, here. Gross. Well, it is what it is. No, whoa. You say gross. My dad wasn't banging Saudi ladies. Okay, that's not what was happening. Okay. I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure why you say gross. I just assumed that. You know, that might have been racist for me to assume that there was a little bit of racism there. You know what? So, how involved was Saudi? Well, the families can sue him, but let's
report
see what
details
they
some
say
of the
here.
links between Saudi nationals and the 9/11 hijackers. The report, known as Operation Encore, was written back in 2016. Its release comes after 2 decades and impassioned lobbying from family members who lost loved ones in the attacks on September 11th, 2001. Earlier this month, President Biden signed an executive order authorizing the FBI
I love
to
brown women too.
declassify several documents related to its 9/11 investigation. For more, I want to bring in Devlin Barrett. He's a national security reporter for the Washington Post. Devlin, thanks very much for being with us. Some of the information found in Operation Encore contradicts what the 9/11 Commission initially reported in 2004.
Probably because the commission is a bunch of bullshit. It's weird. It's funny how like the FBI found links in connecting Saudi, but the commission report did not. And a judge ruled that actually, these families can sue. They should be able to sue for this. What about the Italian artist? Oh, we covered a lot of videos on that. We did.
Can you talk about that? What specifically are we talking about, and what was the contradiction?
Well, there was always a question from immediately after the attack of what role, if any, did the Saudi government play
This volume
in the
is so
planning
low.
and plotting of this? 15 of the 19 hijackers.
By the way, let me back up a little bit. Another announcement. I know I'll be sober, but Montereau, what I'm saying here, if you want me to get off the wagon, I'll get off the wagon. Then you know how to do it. You know how to do it. I make it seem so much more like dramatic than what it really is. What I'm saying, bro, yeah, I'll take a shot for or any super chat or membership or anything like that, for sure, absolutely.
Question from immediately after the attack What role
I just
if
had to
any,
build
did the
it up.
Saudi government play in the planning and plotting of this? 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi citizens, and we know that some of those hijackers received essentially help of various kinds from other Saudis living in the United States when they arrived here in the year 2000. The big question for investigators right from the jump was that help witting? Did Saudis knowingly help these people carry out this horrible attack?
Well, if they were
And
funding
for
them,
many years, the answer seemed to be that there was not convincing, conclusive evidence that Saudi diplomats or security intelligence operatives helped them do this. And that's essentially where the 9/11 Commission came down, saying that while some Saudi charity groups have in the past funded al-Qaeda,
a Saudi charity group in Saudi Arabia. You're telling me they don't have links to the Saudi government? You telling me that they're completely independent? Oh man.
There was no evidence of direct.
That's how the commission
financial
report
or
ended.
other
Okay,
types of
yeah.
support from the Saudi government. What you see in the release today what you see in this new release, this newly declassified release,
From the
is
FBI.
that the FBI was very suspicious, clearly, of that explanation, and they didn't believe a lot of the answers they were getting, including some particular Saudis who were living in the U.S. who interacted with the hijackers back in the year 2000.
Not only funded, but interacted with the hijackers. Wow. Yeah.
And Devlin, on that point, what does this report say about the role of an individual?
Drink, boy, tumbler glass. Gotta take the shot with you and then I won't bother the stream.
Oh, no bother at all. Wow. Well, let it be known, Mr. Deadman had a 3-day sobriety. That's the best I can do. All right. Here's a shot. Cheers. Ooh. Ooh. Man. East Coast Podcast, what are you saying? Who do you hate so much? Oh. Your neighbor? Okay.
Named Omar al-Bayoumi in the September 11th attacks.
Right. Al-Bayoumi is a very important part of this investigation and was looked at for many years by the FBI because Bayoumi met two of the hijackers. Bayoumi, by his own account, gave them...
So they're Saudi nationals, and this dude, whatever his name is, Bayoumi, okay, met with the hijackers.
Help. He described that as not meaning to help terrorists. He described that as meaning to help fellow countrymen who he had a chance encounter with.
Fellow countrymen that he just so had a chance encounter with. And the people who ran the commission report believe that shit? Man, that kind of retarded you got to pay for. You got to bribe for. Okay? That's a special kind of retarded there. Okay.
That's how he described it to the FBI. But clearly the FBI is suspicious of that version of events.
Yeah, anyone would be suspicious of that.
This new document, they show that they say explicitly that other witnesses contradict Bayoumi's account of this. And the FBI clearly set out to see if it had enough evidence to show that Bayoumi was lying and that he knew what these two men were up to. This document suggests, at least, that they never were able to conclusively show that. They were never able to make a provable case of that. But you can tell there's a lot of suspicion in this document toward Bayoumi.
Well, the declassification of Operation Encore is the first of several documents the Biden administration has promised to release. What do we know about what could come next?
Well, you have to understand the legal backdrop of all this is that there are a group of 9/11 families that have been suing the Saudi government for years, and they have been trying very hard to get FBI documents that would help them make the case that the Saudi government was culpable, was complicit in this attack. And obviously this is just one document, but a lot of what these questions are building toward is, were someone like Bayoumi or another Saudi diplomat in California at that time, were they taking instructions from higher up officials in the Saudi government to help some of these hijackers? That is the big question that the families have been driving toward for years, that have been the subject of all these legal arguments. And now,
okay, now I'm very curious about this. Now the Italian rabbit hole, the Italian artist was interesting and all that, but this is ongoing and current. So with these families suing Saudi Arabia, and with this FBI was it Operation Encore or whatever. What do you guys think is going to happen with that? FBI always covers up the problem. Well, in this case, it looks like the FBI did a lot more than what the commission report did. Because they heard the same bullshit and they're like, something's not right here. Now, that's not to say that there's not going to be any foul play or some weird stuff happening. I'll tell you this much, nothing's going to happen. They bring that suit to go to court. You think the lawyer representing the families is going to question a Saudi diplomat? You think it's going to get there? Nah, man. Now, the lawyer representing them must be like, there was no involvement. They were just visiting fellow countrymen. That's it. I would be very surprised if it went any other way.
Now we're going to see documents, according to the Biden administration, that will at least tell us what the FBI understood the facts to be on those very important questions of were people like Bayoumi and
oh shit, dude! Let me say this. With this lawsuit that the family's bringing, who's not to say somehow, in some way, and the Saudi diplomats or whatever, they whisper into Trump's ear and they get him to do stuff, and he somehow manages to shut it down. I don't know what powers he would have to do that, but the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised. It's not going to go anywhere is what I'm saying. One way or the other. The end result will be the lawsuit will not reveal anything. But I hope I'm wrong.
Another man, were they instructed by the Saudi government to do this?
Right, because Saudi Arabia has long denied any role in 9/11. At this point, does the information in the Operation Encore report show that to be true?
So the document we saw newly released really doesn't give any tangible proof, a final answer to that question. But what does come across very clearly is that the FBI has intense suspicion of folks like Bayoumi, their connections, their motives, their level of understanding of who they were helping. But suspicions are just that. I think the other thing that comes across in this document is the FBI says repeatedly, we cannot reconcile the different versions of events we've been given. That's the challenge of an investigation sometimes. I don't think any of what we've seen gives us a final answer on these questions. And it may be, given the way this document is written, that the FBI may not have ever gotten to a final answer.
All right. All right, so we got the end of that one there. So we talked a lot about 9/11. We watched some memes in the beginning. Some of them were pretty funny. Well, actually, the best one was that Metallica one. Look, drop down the 6 viewers. Wow, damn, this is like the worst. This, I gotta be honest with you. Viewership-wise, this is worse than when I just play a game. I gotta say. Maybe I really should have just talked about Charlie Kirk. Anyway. But it's not about the numbers, it's just about having fun. I had fun doing this. You know, a lot of stuff was stuff we already know that we talked about before. Is the video feed kind of buffering? It's buffering. It's like choppy. It's even choppy here. And OBS is running right. Hold on here. Okay, anyway. For me, the fun part of the stream was going down the Italian, I guess the painters, the Italian painters, going down that rabbit hole. So we learned from that apparently all the phones, or at least around that time, all kind of linked to somehow. What was the name of the company? Amdoc. Okay, that. We don't really know how well it is, it's guarded. Looks like it'd be compromised. Looks like people can get information. People who know how to do it. Oh. Well, yeah, it has to be Thorpe-related content. That's normally what this channel... See, that's the draw, you see? See, that's why when Get Crack for me was in the chat saying that the tier list was not really content. It was like, well, actually, it's kind of related. But honestly, the tier list did drag on. It did drag on a bit. I'll have some better ideas. Don't worry. Okay. But yeah, the Italian painter rabbit hole was fun. The Saudi thing was very interesting, but unfortunately, it's probably going to be anticlimactic. I mean, that's what it's going to be. Yeah. What do you guys think of? I mean, I did ask in a poll, and I think most people voted on the last option. As far as like the involvement of like 9/11, was it America? Was it Israel? Was it Saudi? Or was it all some sort of combination of the three? And of course, that option pretty much won a good majority, a massive majority. Because for the stuff we watched here and remembering some things about what happened, it's like you have this combination of useful idiots and an opportunist to really create this scenario that would drag us into war, get the country ready to go to war like that. And and it's not like the war wouldn't benefit Israel any, because Iraq would be toppled, and they did not like Saddam. Saudi did not care much for Saddam either, with the invasion of Kuwait. So now, and some people were like, "There's no way Saudi and Israel would work together because, like, Muslim and Jews working together." I don't know. That they seem to be the one like Islamic country that seems to be interested in playing ball. Opportunists? Yeah. Well, definitely a lot of opportunists for sure. Anyway. Is that what Get Cracked For Me is doing right now? They're roasting the Thorpes? Well, I'm not gonna tie in that into this stream. So I think I'm gonna wrap this up here, which is kind of early for me. It's not even 10 o'clock. If you guys enjoy this, definitely press that like button. Remember that I do appreciate you guys here. I do appreciate the support. And tomorrow night will be a movie night over on Kick. Do you guys have the Kick channel? Going to be watching Tombstone. I know a Hurricane doesn't do Kick. Some of you guys might not do Kick, but it has to be Kick because it's be copyrighted content. Can't watch movies on YouTube. I mean, ZXV somehow gets away with it sometimes. I'm going to throw the link to the Kick channel. You could follow me there. So I'll be doing that tomorrow night. All right. Well, with that said, you guys take it easy and have a good one, man.